sharing. That is definitely a big part of the pleasure of joining and talking. So today is the 6th day of Adar, Vav Adar, and it's this month that we said last week that we are available, or what's available to us is all this joy and all this simcha, but we have to play our part and somehow bring it down. That it's there, it's part of the energy of this month. It's not only is it available as and connected to this month, but it's also the medium through which we achieve learning and healing in this month, which is the deep end. We are trying to, we want to live in a way that we're growing, and we want to live in a way that we are advancing. And every month gives us a different opportunity of how we can grow. Are we going to grow through being more conscious about how we're eating, how we're absorbing things, how we go, eating is not just food, it's also how we take in what we need, and do we need everything we're taking in? The tikkun of eating is in Shvat, we do Tu B'Shvat, it's a tikkun of eating. Every month has its avoda, and Adar is learning and growing through joy. And it's really hard because we're not used to focusing on being joyful. And when you really set your mind to it, can you just take pleasure in Hashem's world, in his creation, have gratitude for whatever your blessings are, and to try and live into that in a big way, particularly this year, because there is so much darkness all around, and we are on the edge of such a huge transformation into a different way of being. And that huge transformation and all that energy that's around of old worlds collapsing and new worlds manifesting, there's a lot of insecurity and a lot of fear. What we know is sort of not there in the way we knew it before. And on the other hand, we haven't yet come into a new world of what we don't know. So there's a lot of angst and anxiety, and a good way to offset that is to work on this joy and pleasure and happiness and gratitude. It's really, really a powerful thing. So what is the Hayom Yom for today? So the Hayom Yoms, actually for yesterday and today, are two nice little Hasidic lessons that can serve one at any time, in any place, in any way. And the one for yesterday, because it's dark now, but for Wednesday, is that there's not the vaguest shadow of a doubt that wherever our feet tread, it is all in order to cleanse and purify the world with words of Torah and tefillah. So you land up in any place, it was on purpose, it was random, you thought it was by mistake, or you were very intentional about picking a place to go for a holiday or for a visit or whatever. But once you're there, this is very strong language. There's not the vaguest shadow of a doubt that wherever you are, the reason you're there is, yes, you went for a simcha or a vacation or something. That was one of the reasons. But the other reason is that you've suddenly arrived in a place that you can cleanse and purify with words of Torah and tefillah. Huge empowerment of Jewish feng shui. We, all of Israel, are emissaries, shluchim of Hashem, each of us as divine providence has decreed for us. None of us is free from this sacred task placed on our shoulders. So wherever you find yourself, no matter where, no matter who you are, you have an opportunity and a responsibility to bring prayer, and it can even be a simple blessing, to bring prayer and some kind of, if you can, words of Torah to that place, so that that place transforms in some way as a result of you having come there. So it's a very beautiful teaching and something that we can live with in many ways. Put it in your pocket and have it there that you can always take out. You're sitting in a train station, in a waiting room of a doctor, you're sitting in a line in traffic, you in a line in the supermarket. There you are. You can transform your space because you're divine neshama with this achrayus, this responsibility. So that was yesterday's Hayom Yom. And then today's is really very beautiful. It's from my father's sichot, my father's teachings. So the Frierdiker Rebbe is saying this about his father. It is a magnificent gift of Hashem to merit an innate sense, a chush, a feel, a taste, an appetite almost, for doing kindness to another, to deprive deep pleasure from it. This is interesting because the whole point of Hasidus is to try and educate the mind so that we start feeling the right things about doing the right acts. So if you weren't feeling so motivated to do chesed or kindness for another person, and then you learn Hasidus in such a way that you start training what your feelings are going to be. You say, well, that's ridiculous. I just feel what I feel and I'm into what I'm into. So no, learning Torah has that power to shape what it is that you start to have an appetite for. So it's a magnificent gift of Hashem to merit an innate sense, a feel for doing kindness to another, to derive deep pleasure from it. And then after telling us that it's a gift from Hashem and something that you could think, oh, well, I didn't get that gift, it continues and it says, this can develop to the point that one cherishes the other more than oneself. A person may find many explanations as to why he deserves his own tribulations, chas v'shalom, but to do so with regard to another's suffering is absolutely impossible. So he kind of switches from, on the one hand, working on yourself to really enjoy and find pleasure in helping another person. And on the other hand, if another person needs help or requires help in any way, it's not up to you to make cheshbanot, to make explanations of why that other person is suffering in whichever way they're suffering. Because when it comes to your own suffering, you can certainly do that. You can say, why did I need to suffer in this way? Why did I slam the front door on my finger? Why did I stub my toe? Why did I trip? Why did I fall or whatever? That you can do on yourself. But on another person, you shouldn't do that. And it's don't do that, chas v'shalom. And when you're not trying to understand why that person has suffering, you just know that they have it, then do kindness to assist and to help, because that's really the place where we want to grow and develop to become such a person to do that. So that's the Hayom Yom. And now we are going to move into the Parsha. Now I did mute everyone, but if you want or have a question, everyone is able to unmute. So I wasn't able to cut out the noises that were a little bit disturbing. But I just want to, I want to start talking about the Mishkan. So this Parsha is all about the Mishkan. And it's about the mitzvah, it's talking about the Mishkan. And the interesting thing about the Mishkan is that, and I remember saying these very words last year, that there are 13 chapters in Sefer Shmot, 13 chapters on the Mishkan. It's a lot of time and energy and ink devoted to the construction of the Mishkan, 1 chapter on Bereshit, the creation of the whole world, and 3 chapters devoted to the revelation at Har Sinai. So 13 for the Mishkan, one for creation, and 3 for Har Sinai. So Mishkan is like a big deal. It's the purpose of all creation. It's a dwelling place for Hashem in the lower realms. So, first of all, if we're talking about the Mishkan, there's a lot of different things to say about it, and I want to focus, I think, on 3 different points. The first point is just to talk about the contribution that the Yidden made to the Mishkan and the context in which they made contributions to the Mishkan. So we know that the Jews contributed 15 substances to the Mishkan: gold, silver, copper, wood, wool, linen, animal skins, oil, spices, and gemstones are among what they contributed. We also know that there's differences in opinion about why they were given this Mishkan and what's the point of the Mishkan and when were they given the instructions about the Mishkan. So if we following in the order of how events have happened, we came out of Egypt, we crossed the Red Sea, we fought against Amalek, we had Har Sinai, then we had Mishpatim, and now we're talking about the Mishkan and all the commandments concerned with building a Mishkan. And on the one hand, it could be just that Hashem wanted us to have a formal dwelling where his presence could be revealed. And then next week or later on in the story, we're going to learn about the sin of the golden calf. And then there's this whole discussion that maybe the Torah isn't read or written or revealed in a chronological order. And in fact, the Mishkan as a tangible place for people to focus their connection with Hashem came about as a result of the people doing the sin with the golden calf. And this was a way for them to do tshuva and to repair themselves. So going with that idea, I want to just learn a little bit of Rabbi Nachman as presented by Reb Nosson from Likutei Halachot, which we're learning separately, but just to bring it into this context, that after, if we would jump to the sin of the golden calf and imagine that it was just like anybody committing a sin, so once the people allowed that sin to happen, there was a lot of, let's say, guilt and people feeling very badly about themselves. And then Moshe Rabbeinu comes and tries to achieve a tikkun for the people and get them to recommit to the good within themselves and remember the good within themselves. And in a way, after such a trauma of such a disaster that the people were dancing, to this idol right after receiving the Torah, I mean, really bad mess up. Moshe Rabbeinu, as the tzaddik, the Rebbe, the mashpia, the leader, he tries to help them find their own repair. And Reb Nosson stresses this point that we've spoken about so much, that everybody had to find their nakuda tova, their good point. So I'll just read it inside and try to go through it quickly because we've talked about it before. So Hashem became favorably disposed towards Moshe as a result of his finding good in every Jew, even after the incident of the golden calf. For Moshe was the embodiment of good, as expressed in the verse, she saw that he was good. So Moshe Rabbeinu always identified with this good. And when we talk about the Mishkan, and as I've just said, the Mishkan, such a central theme in Torah, it's going to be about finding the good, building the good, constructing the good in order to spread the good. That's the point of this whole exercise of having a Mishkan is that there should be like a central place which radiates out good into the world, and that the Jews have the responsibility to build that. And Reb Nosson is going to explain that any time we gather our good and we see good in others, and we gather together and we emphasize our good and we empower our good, we can actually create Mishkan in space and in time. As a general rule, we always want to, in a way, be building a Mishkan. So Moshe is this good as a persona. He's this good. From the moment he was born, he was this good. And therefore, Moshe had the inherent ability to always find the good in everyone, even those who had sinned, even the willful sinners. He could find good. Hi, Ilana, nice to see you. So we're talking about building the Mishkan, and we're talking about how Moshe was able to see good in all the people to inspire. And that was what inspired them to want to be participating in the Mishkan, was Moshe's seeing the good in them. Through this, Moshe seeing the good in all the Yidden, Hashem was placated after the sin of the golden calf, and he commanded the Jewish people regarding the construction of the Mishkan as a tikkun. Each Jew was to contribute towards the Mishkan's construction according to the generosity of his heart. For Moshe would rouse the good in each person, and each person commensurate with his good contributed to the construction of the Mishkan according to the generosity of his good heart. Now, if we think of the Mishkan as a physical construction, then everybody has to give this list that I read to you before: gold, silver, copper, wood, wool, linen, animal skins, oil, spices, gemstones. But if you think about the Mishkan as also a spiritual construct, a spiritual edifice, then everybody has to give the loving kindness, the positive energies, the tshuva, the goodness in themselves. They have to contribute to this Mishkan. And in fact, each person contributes according to the generosity of their good heart. For the Mishkan, and then Reb Nosson and Rabbi Nachman are explaining this idea that the Mishkan was constructed from all the good that has been refined from every single Jew. This is the significance of the Torah's listing of their gifts: gold and silver and copper and sky blue and dark red and crimson. Listen to this. Each person brought a gift that was congruent with his own good point. So here's like a huge point, that when we're talking about the world of Klippa, which we unfortunately seeing raising its ugly head all around us, there's a desire to minimize people's differences and make everyone alike. We'll all get a portion, you know, everyone, Mayo in China, Mayo, that's how his name was. I'm just suddenly, anyway, everybody gets their rice bowl and everybody gets their portion of rice and everybody gets what the government thinks they need and everybody's equal and everybody is all, you know, the individuality of people is minimized. And in the world of Kedusha, it's the absolute opposite. Each person is like a letter in the Sefer Torah, 600,000 people, 600,000, you know, different letters, and each person is unique. No fingerprint is the same, no person is the same. And Kedusha wants you to articulate your individualness and contribute to the Mishkan with your individuality. No two people are the same. And so the good point in each person is also different. So each person is contributing their good point, which is represented by the gold and silver and copper and sky blue. And each of them representative of the good inside every Jew. And then it gets even better. It says, this is the importance of Hashem's praise for the Jewish people, because it says in Yeshayahu, you are my servant Israel, in you et pa'er, I will take pride. And et pa'er is connected to this word, it connotes splendor, it's about the beauty of color, and it's really about the multitude of different colors. Each good point in each different person is a different color and a different way of them being. So each person revealing their good point. So I think that that is a really beautiful idea. And I'm going to unmute you. And if anybody wants to comment on that, because I think that was really beautiful. Everyone is unmuted, and if you want to just unmute yourselves individually, but this idea of building the Mishkan from your individuality, contributing to the whole with your uniqueness, it's a very beautiful idea. So that was one thing I wanted to share. And if you want to comment, you can, otherwise I'll continue. So another point that I wanted to share is that the Mishkan is compared, it says that just like the Mishkan is divided into different areas, so too the physical universe is divided into different areas, and creation as a whole is divided into different areas. And the Bnei Israel are divided into different areas, so to speak. So what does that actually mean? So we've got, in the physical world, we've got unrefined matter. So earth and all the earthly creatures is one level of creation. Then we've got another level of creation, a more refined level, the stars and the planets and the heavenly bodies. And then we have an even more refined level, which is the level of the angels and spiritual entities that don't really even have a physical form. So 3 different madrigas of creation, 3 different levels of existence. Unrefined matter and earthly matter, the stars and the planets and heavenly bodies, and then angels. Then in time, we have 3 different areas of time. We have the 6 work days where we're supposed to work and work with the physical world and try to refine it. Then we have Shabbat, which is a work where we, it's connected to the refined matter, it's a higher level. And then we have the level of Yom Kippur, the Shabbat of all the Shabbases, the most holy. And same with Bnei Israel, we have the farmers, the merchants, the soldiers, the statesmen, the common folk. Then we have the Leviim, they're serving in the temple, dealing with the refinement of the physical world. And then we have the Kohen Gadol, the highest level of spirituality that a person can get. So in the temple, we have these 3 levels as well. We have the outer courtyard. Then we have coming in to the outer chamber where there's, in the outer courtyard is the work of refining physicality. We have the Mizbeach where we offer animal sacrifices. Then we have the coming in to the holy, the menorah, the shulchan, and the ketores. It's holy, but it's not the holy of holies. There we are refining physicality in a different level. It's more refined. And then we get to the Kodesh HaKadoshim, the most refined of all the 3 levels. So there's an interesting debate between Nachmanides and Maimonides, that which part of the temple is the more important. The Kodesh HaKadoshim, which is where Hashem reveals himself to us between the wings of the Keruvim, which sits, the angels, which sit on top of the Aron, the container for the Luchot, the tablets, where Hashem reveals himself and speaks to the Kohen Gadol, and then the divine voice is dispersed into the world? Or is it the outer courtyard, where the work of taking the physical self and the physical elements of the physical world and, offering them up onto the altar and transforming the physical world? So it's an interesting machloket between Nachmanides, who said the Kodesh HaKadoshim is the whole point of the Mishkan, really. It's like working towards that point. And Maimonides, who says, actually the outer temple where we work and engage with the physical world, that's really almost the point of the whole exercise, is this transformation of us and the physical world. So I thought that was an interesting, sort of coming at it from different sides. And then just one more thing, that the ark, the whole Mishkan really can be also compared to us as people, our construct. The Aron is the mind, the intellect, and our capacity to speak, because I said Hashem actually speaks and reveals himself between the wings of the Keruvim. The menorah are our sense of sight. The shulchan is our sense of taste. That's where the lechem hapanim are put. The inner altar, where they offered up the ketoris, is our sense of smell. And the outer altar, which is where all the transformation occurs, is connected to our digestive system and our other functional organs. And it's just interesting that just like the Sphirot can be mapped on the body, and we a microcosm of that spiritual reality, so to the Mishkan, that's this incredible center of the meeting of heaven and earth manifested in a physical form, is also represented on us as in our body, because we also are a temple to Hashem. We also are a place where the physical and the spiritual interface and connect and find each other, the spiritual and physical aspect. And we are little temples in of ourselves too. So I'm not going to say any more in the lecture format, and I would like to hear what you have to say about all that, and if you want to verbring, and if you want to share, and if you want to say anything, and if anyone has any questions, if you want to show your faces. Otherwise, we can just say good night.